What do people want to know about the world's second richest country? Let's use Google autocomplete to find out. Is Singapore a country? Yes, Singapore is a member of the United Nations. Here's a funny story. I was on a tour in Ireland and someone asked, is Singapore a country? Before I could answer, the tour guide replied, yes, Singapore is a UN member, so it is technically a country. He then asked, how many people does Singapore have? I said 5 million. Holy cow, that's more people than we have in the whole of Ireland. But I've learned not to be offended when people ask this question. It's not that people are ignorant, it's just that this world is big. For example, this video is filmed in Canada. What's one of the most commonly Googled questions about Canada? Is Canada a country? Some people think that Canada is part of the United States. Others think that Canada is part of the UK, because the Canadian king is the same as the British king. Well, the kings are the same, but both countries are independent. Fun fact of the day, Singapore declared independence not once but twice. The more famous one was in 1965, when founding father Lee Kuan Yew cried as he reluctantly declared independence from Malaysia. The less famous one was in 1963, when Lee Kuan Yew declared independence for 2 weeks. Why? Singapore was about to leave the British to form Malaysia. But there was a 16-day delay in the formation of Malaysia. The Philippines and Indonesia viewed Malaysia as illegitimate, and the United Nations had to resolve those claims. So in Lee's view, Singapore was independent for those 16 days. And if you agree with Lee, Singapore can have a second National Day on August 31st, which is the same as Malaysia's Independence Day. How does Singapore make money? Singapore is one of the biggest warehouses in the world. We import something, improve it, and then export it. For example, in 2022 we imported $76 billion in integrated circuits, but exported $82 billion worth of it. We also added value to machinery, gas turbines, and even human hair. Singapore is actually the world's largest exporter of human hair. We imported $5 million worth of hair, but exported $15 million worth. I'm wondering, was all the hair imported? Or do any barbershops sell hair to exporters? Our exports and imports are both comparable to our total GDP. In fact, Singapore has one of the highest trade to GDP ratios in the world. There are also other industries like tourism. Singapore is also a magnet for tourists. In 2023, there were 2.5 tourists visiting Singapore for every Singaporean. This ratio is higher than countries like the US, the UK, and France. Tourism hasn't fully recovered from the pandemic, but Singapore's national income per person would still be thousands of dollars lower if there weren't tourism. How does Singapore deal with homelessness? The main method is by preventing it in the first place. 3/4 of Singaporeans live in public housing. Most of the rest live in private housing. Our home ownership rate is 88%. While we may not have the highest home ownership rate even in Southeast Asia, it is well above most countries. For those who can't afford housing, there are schemes to help. For example, the government offers subsidized rental flats and also funds temporary shelters. Still, some people fall through the cracks. The most recent nationwide homelessness study found that there are around 1,000 homeless people in Singapore. In other words, around 1 in every 5,000 people are homeless. I wish it was even lower, but I'm glad it's the 11th lowest rate worldwide. And even sad stories can have silver linings. One story that inspired me to do more is of Liana Damira. When 2 activists discovered that she was homeless through no fault of her own, and she didn't get the assistance she needed, they wrote to 2 government ministers. The ministers responded very quickly and found her housing. Indeed, civil society and government can cooperate for the common good. Liana is now a successful entrepreneur. She's also published a book on her experience. I found it really eye-opening, and I encourage you to read it. Why Singapore is Rich. She converted weaknesses into strengths. Singapore has no natural resources,
your piece of granite rock. Fortunately, it's granite, by the way.
She only had her people, and the only way to prosper was by creating wealth herself. So the people worked hard, and the government implemented policies to create value. For example, in the 1960s, many Asian countries discouraged foreign investment, viewing it as a risk. But Singapore encouraged it, and in fact set up offices globally to woo investors. And the education system was revamped to align with the economic needs of the nation. There was a strong emphasis on English, maths, science, and technical education to get the workforce ready for a rapidly industrializing economy. Those efforts paid off. Singapore only has a people became Singapore has a people. Singapore's GDP per capita increased by 27 times in 31 years. That's like doubling almost every year for a generation. Why Singapore banned chewing gum? People often mention chewing gum when they talk about Singapore.
In this super clean Asian city, there's even a ban on chewing gum.
Chewing gum is banned. There's an offence of picking flowers in a public park and a heavy fine if you're caught. And if you use a public lavatory and don't flush it afterwards, you could get nabbed by undercover environmental health officers.
Yet those commenters are not 100% right. It's legal to chew gum in Singapore. Yes, you heard me right. It's legal to chew gum. The government only banned selling gum in 1992. So you could buy a small amount in neighboring Malaysia and bring it in. At the time, the government was concerned about people sticking gum in between train doors and lift doors, which caused significant disruptions. And people often threw gum on the streets. And since 2004, it's legal to sell gum for medical purposes. Singapore was about to sign a free trade agreement with the US, but the chewing gum company Wrigley's lobbied the US government. The company viewed chewing gum as a human right. After 2.5 years of negotiations, Singapore finally agreed to legalize selling gum. But the gum needed to have proven health benefits. Do you have any more questions? Leave a comment below. Also, let me know what you think of this background. Thanks for watching this video.